Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins. What are we doing here with the quarterback position? Okay, this game was a lot closer than I will say the final score when they played the Minnesota Vikings. The final score was 42-21. It was 21-21 going into the fourth quarter, and then the Vikings just ran away with it. 2 more interceptions for Kirk Cousins. It's quite a lot. 2 more turnover-worthy plays for Kirk Cousins. He also had 2 big-time throws, so I don't want to take that away from him. 344 passing yards. So Cousins has still been able to move the football really well, but now he leads the NFL in turnover-worthy plays when he is pressured. He leads the NFL in turnover-worthy plays just overall, and it sort of begs the question now with the Buccaneers in first place of the Atlanta Falcons and 1 game clear of them, because remember, the Falcons have that tiebreaker. So they could still end up winning this division because they've got a pretty easy schedule down the stretch. I understand that. But we've heard the rumblings. Is it time to go to Michael Penix Jr.? Is Kirk Cousins holding this team back from achieving what they want to achieve? So I want to ask you that question. When you have watched Kirk throughout this season, is he a major problem of this team? Do you think switching quarterbacks is the solution for the Falcons to win the division? Or do you think that maybe the gains would be marginal at best? What do you think about this situation?
Yeah, I think for this season, the gains are probably marginal. And when I think about Penix's play style, I don't know how drastically different it is than Kirk's in terms of his ability to make plays kind of under pressure. Now, what may change is the amount of play action. Kirk Cousins, we remember the Minnesota days, a lot of play action, a lot of yards, big plays off play action. They barely run play action. I don't know if that was a schematic choice going into the season from Zach Robinson, if that was a situation where, with whoever quarterback, they just weren't going to run a lot of play action, or that's just a Kirk Cousins thing where it's like, hey, he's coming off the injury, he doesn't move very well. Like, let's just not let him turn his back to the play like we saw from late career Ben Roethlisberger. So what's happening now is it's a grind for them to get the ball up and down the field on a weekly basis. And they're good at it because they have a lot of good players. And Kirk Cousins is a good player. But they don't throw the ball deep. They're like bottom 5 in throws, percentage of throws that are over 20 yards. And again, that's part of the play action thing. Like it's tougher to drop back pass and throw the ball down the field. So that's kind of one of the issues. The offensive line is fine, but it's not like a stone wall in front of him. So now you're getting him under pressure.
They're better run blockers than pass blockers.
Exactly, right? So you're just in these situations where you watch Cousins, and he's a veteran quarterback. He's a good quarterback. You look at it, and it's like, all right, this play is, play 1 is a B+ decision and throw. Play 2 is a B+ decision and throw. B+, 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 F. B+, 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 F. B+, B+. And it's like, that's tough. That's tough to because you're not creating as many explosive plays down the field. That's where it's tough. And he doesn't move very well anymore. He makes a lot of good decisions. He does have good arm strength. It's just like there's not enough, just not enough, I think, where you can make up for the bad plays that have been creeping up more and more and more these past few weeks.
So I think that's sort of the question, right? Is when you look at Penix and what he was able to do at Washington. Now, I want to be very clear here. If Penix were to come into this lineup for the last 4 weeks of the season, yes, what he was able to do at Washington was really push the ball deep down the field. They had a very explosive offense with Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan. So he is much more proficient in pushing the ball deep down the field and getting those explosive plays in the pass game. But he is still a rookie, right? And so I think that you have to remember that as well, with Penix coming in and being a full-time starter. Sure, he might be able to just hit the ground running and look like the Washington Michael Penix, but that is no guarantee. It might take 2-3 games for him to really get his feet wet, and then all of a sudden you got like 1 game left in the season. You're in a divisional race right now, so it's tempting because of the lack of explosive plays. But there's a couple of different ways that you could look at it. If you're going to be a fan of the team and you are looking for this organization to become the best version that they could be down the road, you could start Michael Penix over the next 4 games and you could feel pretty good about it. Hey, give him the 4 games, give him the next month, and see what happens. Give him a couple of games as a starter, and then he goes into the offseason and goes, okay, now I got some things to learn from. Now I've got some things to work on in the offseason. I'll go into next season as the full-time starter, and I'll prepare as the full-time starter. But to your point about all the B pluses from Kirk Cousins, I don't think the team is going to operate like that. I really don't. Raheem Morris, he was asked about the quarterback situation. He said, Kirk's our leader. He is going to lead us next week. He is our starting quarterback. And I know we kind of saw the same thing with Shane Steichen and what happened with the quarterback situation in Indianapolis. And there's all of this. Yeah, this guy's our quarterback, and then they could change their mind. I fully understand that. But I really do believe it in Atlanta because they were on top of the division over the last 3 weeks. Now they happen to not be because they're 1 game back, but they own that tiebreaker. All they have to do is get tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They don't have to get cleared of it. And I have a hard time thinking that they're going to put a $100 million quarterback on the bench when he's giving you so many B-plus throws. Even if he doesn't give you the highest stuff, I don't think that that's what this year is about. And I think they know that. I think they know that with the defensive line not playing as well as it needs. Now it's played better lately, but the defense as a whole and the defensive line in particular in Atlanta. I mean, if Atlanta gets matched up against somebody in the playoffs, whatever team they're facing is not necessarily going to be afraid of them. It's not going to be the easiest game in the world. I'm not trying to say that, but if Atlanta makes it into the playoffs, they're going to be viewed as the weakest team in the NFC, no question about it. And so is that worth sort of benching that guy that you've got all this guaranteed money to, or do you feel better as an organization saying, hey, we gave Kirk Cousins the whole year, the whole first year, now going into the offseason, it's going to be more of an open competition, and if Penix wins it over the summer and he's the starting quarterback next year, then so be it. I think that's much more of a realistic path, but I guess my question back to you is if they're lacking explosives, and Penix was exactly that in college, do you feel good about starting him thinking that you're going to get that right away? Or do you think, no, just because that's what he was at Washington doesn't mean that that's what we're going to get from him in Atlanta right out of the gate?
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with that, where it's like, okay, yeah, he threw the ball down the field in college. Like a lot of guys throw the ball down the field in college. It's a lot harder to do it in the NFL, a lot less opportunities and a lot tighter coverage. So that is where it's like, I don't know if that is a thing that carries from carries with a quarterback from college to pro is like deep ball accuracy. I'm not even sure it carries with a quarterback from year to year. So that's where the issue is. Like, I think if we're talking about like Cousins having some of these issues as the pocket kind of collapses and gets tighter and tighter, I think Penix could give you some ability with arm strength in those tight pockets. Now, Kirk, for how we think about Kirk Cousins, he has a stronger arm than I think we give him credit for generally. But yeah, but Penix probably in like a tighter situation can probably handle that better. But in terms of movement, like we talked about before, like that's not Penix's game either. We're coming off 2 ACLs or 2 leg injuries. One was an ACL. So, like, are we getting a guy who's going to move around and beat the pass rush that way and create plays down the field? No, I don't think so. Maybe maybe that's what he's going to become. I don't know, but it wasn't what he was at the end of his career in college. So I don't know if there's that much of a difference. And then, like you said, with the B+ stuff, it's like we're going to get a lot of C plays now, like, and Fs. Because he's a rookie quarterback.
You're saying from Penix. You're saying from Penix, like if
from Penix, like
from Penix.
Yeah, there's going to be some A+ throws because he has a strong arm. He can stand in the pocket. He's a big guy. Does all that stuff. So you're going to get the A+ stuff, which maybe you haven't gotten as much from Kirk Cousins, but you're not going to get the consistent amount of, like I said, B to B+ throws and like or plays all encompassingly. You're going to get a lot of C's and C- along with the Fs because he's going to make some poor decisions as a rookie. So that, I don't know, it's just like not I don't think it's the way to go. I also think like it's tough. Like the defense is it's not good. I mean, they played well against the Chargers, which was surprising, and then just following that up with getting absolutely obliterated by the Vikings, and it's like you're in these bad situations all the time. You're down in games. You're having to score a lot. Like that, you're gonna let Penix throw the ball like 35 times a game. Like that's tough.
Well, like I was saying at the top, I think that the score doesn't necessarily indicate like how the Falcons played all game. So actually think they've been playing better defense over the last month, I will say.
Yeah, but the pass rush, like you said, seems to have come alive a bit.
Right.
It took them long enough, and now they're losing games, but it took them long enough.
Right. So
and when I say it took them long enough, I don't mean like a this season. I mean like 10 years took them long enough.
Yeah, it feels like it. It really feels like it for Atlanta. But all right, so that's sort of the assessment of the Atlanta Falcons. I love to hear from people of whether they think that a quarterback change is due, because again, it's tough when the bad throws are Fs. Like, it's tough when you have the most turnover-worthy plays in the NFL. It's tough when you have the most turnover-worthy plays under pressure. If those F plays were like D+, if the floor was higher with Cousins, I don't really think that we'd be talking about this conversation, even if the ceiling was a little bit lower. But it does invite the idea of, hey, maybe we might as well just go with Penix, because we've been losing a couple of games here. We lost a division lead. We need something to really help us out. And again, if they make it into the playoffs, like I said, there's not really a ton of teams that are going to be really afraid of the Falcons given their defense, unless they continue to really turn it up because of how Cousins has been giving away the ball. And I just don't think, certainly when you look at the NFC, you've got whoever's going to win the NFC North, let's just say the Detroit Lions, and then you got the Minnesota Vikings, you got the Green Bay Packers, you're going to have the Seattle Seahawks, it looks like, as well, and then probably the Washington Commanders. So of those teams, if the Falcons end up winning if they end up winning the NFC South, they're probably going to win it as the 4th seed. They're playing the Vikings or the Packers right out of the gate. And if you're playing the Vikings again, obviously we just saw what happened here. So it was a close game for 3 quarters, though. I want to make sure that I make sure that I note that. But
let me I got one more point on this game, which I think is interesting. So many of their explosive plays have been short passes, and a lot of short passes to Bijan Robinson, who can make magic happen. And I just wanted to shout out this great game plan from Brian Flores. So the Flores defense, they will always show you a blitz look, or like a sting look, as I call it, but they haven't been like sending the full house as much as the season's gone on, and they did that last year as well. Like, as the season's gone on, they've kind of shown you a lot less. They're dropping out of it, doing some more exotic stuff in the secondary in terms of rotating and stuff post snap out of those looks. But what they did a really great job of is forcing Bijan Robinson to be a pass protector. Like, they were going to get you into a look where they knew the Falcons would move Bijan and force him to pass protect, and then you make sure that Bijan is staying there. You blitz Bijan. Whether or not he's a good pass protector or not, it's irrelevant, because he's a better receiver out of the backfield. You don't let him get out into the route. They did it from those sting looks. They also did it from regular looks, and they blitzed a backer late to the man side, to the running back side in pass protection, making sure he doesn't get out and make those plays. I thought it was just a great idea from Brian Flores.
Huge.
And that, like, not all teams are going to do that against the Falcons. Obviously, this is such a unique defense that Minnesota has, but at the same time, like, you take away this one key player basically by alignment, and this offense it has even more trouble now.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.